Terence Crawford just revealed his game plan, and you guys are gonna say, what? That's crazy. Trust me, I'm just as shocked as you are. Here is what he said. Terence Crawford was talking to Shannon Sharpe, just did a great interview with him, and he was talking all about, his career and his upbringing, Omaha, Nebraska, being in his hometown, fighting Canelo. But I'll break it down so you guys don't have to necessarily, watch that whole interview, because it is a long one. It's like 3 hours. But ultimately, Terence was talking about the Canelo fight, obviously, and I was right. Don't listen. I was talking about how Terence Crawford, the reason why he picked this Canelo fight isn't only because it's a legendary fight, but ultimately this is like an indirect fight for Crawford against like Manny Pacquiao, against Floyd, because he never got those fights. He always wanted to fight Crawford. Crawford always wanted to fight Manny. He always wanted to fight Floyd, get those big fights. He talked about that, and I said that before this interview went down. But that's a no-brainer. Crawford wanted to fight those legends and kind of get that passing of the torch fight. And if you think about it, this is ultimately the closest thing he's got. That's what Terence Crawford said, and I feel like that's a good reason to take the fight. I understand it, but I also understand, like, as good as Canelo is, he might be the cash cow of the sport, might be the face of boxing right now. It doesn't put Crawford at the table with Pacquiao and Floyd, even beating Canelo. And I understand that sounds crazy, right? Imagine jumping up multiple weight classes, going from 54, skipping 60, and ultimately going to 68 and fighting not only the best, but the cash cow, the face of boxing, the soul of boxing right now, what's bringing all the money in, Canelo Alvarez. But it's all about opposition. For me, I don't just look at, you beat Canelo, you become the best fighter of all time. He's fighting one of the best out there. There's no doubt about that. But for me, I feel like it's all about, the rest of your resume as well. One singular fight doesn't, overcome your whole resume. It doesn't overshadow everything. Yeah, you fought who was available, and you deserve credit for that. And it's not your fault that there's not better opposition out there. There's not the Oscar De La Hoyas of the world. There's not the Shane Mosleys of the world. I understand that, but ultimately you gotta play the cards you're dealt, and you're only as good as your opposition is. So, as much as that sounds like discrediting Terence Crawford, I respect him, but he also talked about his game plan ultimately, in my opinion. A lot of people think that the only thing about Canelo and Crawford is the weight, right? Everybody's talking about the headlines of Crawford's too little for Canelo Alvarez, but a lot of people are forgetting the fact that it's 168 is the weight limit. 168 is the limit. That's the maximum they can weigh in. Who said Terence Crawford has to come in at 68? So for people to say, oh, he's going to be slower at 68, look at Madrimov. You guys got to remember, Madrimov's not Canelo. Madrimov was off. He was really awkward. He was coming in and out, darting in and out, and countering Terence Crawford every time he rushed in. Not that Canelo can't counter, bud, but he's not as awkward. He's not as, bouncy as Madrimov is and was. So I feel like Crawford, he's gonna have to be agile in there. That's what he's banking on. Crawford said, I don't have to knock him out, and that's exactly his game plan, right there. He's not planning to knock out a guy that's never been really visibly hurt, besides, fighting Cotto's brother and getting rocked for a little bit. Canelo's never really been rocked like that otherwise, So for Crawford to go in there and say, I'm going to knock out Canelo, that'd be silly. That'd be a bad game plan, in addition to the weight. Ultimately, if you look at a guy and he's never been hurt before, your first instinct shouldn't be, oh, I'm going to knock him out. That'd be insane. I'm not saying that Crawford doesn't hit hard, but I think he even knows that Canelo's chin is one of the best in the sport right now, if not the best in the sport of boxing right now. So he knows that he's probably not going to knock him out. So the solution to that is ultimately to beat him in a decision. Canelo told, a lot of people that Crawford was too small, but now he's taking the fight because this is a huge fight. And for Crawford, he really thinks that he can beat Canelo Alvarez. I don't favor him, but I feel like it's very possible that he wins still because he is the lighter fighter. And, he doesn't have to weigh in at 168. Like I said, that's the weight limit. He doesn't have to come in at 68. He can come in a few pounds lighter and still be that agile fighter that he always is and typically is. But he's going to have to be intelligent. And I like the fact that he's saying that I don't have to knock him out. So that tells me he doesn't intend on necessarily exchanging the entire fight and making it a firefight. He might, be a little bit more high IQ and just win by any means necessary. He can easily beat, I don't say easily, but I could easily see him beating Canelo in a decision. But, for me, I don't see him hurting Canelo, but I can see him being too fast for him and being too smart and using that game plan. And I think he believes that, Crawford believes that Canelo's gonna get tired. He said he's gonna take him into deep water and then ultimately, you know, beat him in a decision and not necessarily have to knock him out. He never said he was gonna knock out Canelo. He said he can beat him, you know, keyword beat, not knock out. So I feel like there's a good chance that Terence Crawford does beat Canelo by unanimous decision. That's just my opinion, or split decision. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next Nabs Boxing video. Peace.